Hello, everyone. I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who wants to go on. He's from YouTube. He goes by the YouTube username of Michael Carrig. This is the third time he's been on. He has Michael Jordan as the number one NBA player of all time, and he would like to explain why Michael Jordan is the number one NBA player of all time. So let me put him on. Hey, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me for a third time.
Thank you. You're very welcome, and thank you for being on for a third time.
I really appreciate it.
Me too.
I think we got into interesting territory in the second episode, and since some time has passed, I've been thinking about the conversation, and I said at the beginning of our first episode, and maybe sometime during the second, that I do not think that the claim that a player is the greatest is objective. I've been processing some of the arguments you make about advanced statistics and some of them about the feeling around the league and stuff. And so I've come to the conclusion that we do apply philosophically different forms of logic, right? And you can tell me if I'm wrong in describing thinkers to you.
I would actually take it a step further. So I would say many times I'm going by facts, and many times I'm being consistent, and many times you're not going by facts, and many times you're not being consistent.
Well, I would say this. The way that this show functions, and it's a very interesting setup, is that you are proposing the questions, and you have a very centered, immediate concern, and that you sort of pose questions to me. I don't know how other people feel about it.
Actually, no. Every program I've done has literally been the guest brings up what they want, and then I follow up.
No. I understand. You have this concept, and then towards that concept, you propose what you see as fallibilities, right? And people are reacting to you, and I think that's perfectly fine. But I'm talking about something that's a little bit deeper than that, which is what are the predicates, the assumptions, your philosophical assumptions for how you make statements. And I presume, one, as you mention the concept often, that you believe in the law of non-contradiction as a logical principle.
No, I wouldn't say I believe in the law of non-contradiction as absolute, because there's going to be times where you're going to contradict yourself, you meaning whoever in general, and there could be one or more good reasons. So I'm not expecting people to be 100% consistent. So for example, if someone were to say, you should exercise, and they're not consistently exercising, I'll understand that. But if someone were to say, I go by facts when I rank NBA players, and then they go by analytics, that's a ridiculous inconsistency. Or not ridiculous,
yeah,
it's at least an inconsistency.
But the law of non-contradiction isn't a comparison between the statement and the meaning, or the statement and the actuality, the statement and the fact of life. It is about the internal consistency of the proposition. So you want the proposition to be always internally consistent, right?
I'm not saying it has to be 100%. In other words, it just depends.
Okay, well, so if you admit some contradiction, I find, for instance, the idea that, one, we can get to this another time, or you can address it immediately, of course. The idea that analytics, the development of analytics, has any relation to, more than a correlation with, Michael Jordan fans seems a bit odd to me.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm not sure where that comes from.
That's a fair point, a fair question. So let me just back this up. Analytics is there throughout the sports world. Actually, I shouldn't even say throughout the sports world, but it's there for at least the major sports in North America. It's there. And lots of people use it for different reasons. Now, there is a pattern. The place that really loves analytics the most and uses it the most and reacts in some questionable way if someone questions analytics, and there's more examples, but you get the point, it's going to be Michael Jordan fans. So just to give you a quick random example. Their analytics is in baseball. Analytics is in basketball.
Yes.
But analytics is not even the things I just listed. When I remember I said there's more examples, but you get the point. Those things I listed, it's not even the same in baseball as it is in basketball, in more particular as it is with Michael Jordan fans.
Okay, now I understand what you're saying about discourse, right? But in baseball, advanced analytics has a longer history, and it has like far longer application to the actual game, largely because there are more statistics in baseball, or there were.
Well, two disputes there. When you say it's been there longer, I don't know what you mean unless you just mean someone opened the door to analytics in 1949 or whatever, so it's there longer, or are they actually using it, liking it, being consistent and all that? And two, to your point about how, what was your second point? You said a second point. I forgot what it was. There was I think you said something like they're applying it to the players, or what was that?
Yeah, in baseball, it has wide application.
Okay.
I give examples to what it's applied to, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, when you say it has wide applications, I was going to say, but actually I want to verify something. Are you saying it has wide applications, like it legitimately has wide applications, or people believe it has wide applications?
It is practiced.
Okay, then that's just not true. It's hardly there at all. And the few people who did it, for example, for a few years, the Los Angeles Dodgers were using it. They were heavily criticized for it. In 2018, when they played the Boston Red Sox in the World Series, analytics told them for more than one game to bench their top 4 home run hitters. So the best, the second best, third best, and fourth best. And they ended up losing, which could have happened anyway. But there was no baseball fan who said, yeah, analytics did the right thing to bench their top 4 home run hitters for that year.
I understand what you're saying by bringing up this specific example, but that doesn't deny the fact that it also has wide application. For instance, changes to the amount of player time, the usage of pitching,
you could have done that without
integration. What'd you say?
All the things that you're going to list, whether it's one thing or more than one thing, all these things happened before analytics, and they could happen without analytics.
But this point that you make that it could happen without analytics, I think is a bit counterintuitive, because the fact is that analytics do exist.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that they are absolute to any sport. I'm just as in basketball, where there are many GMs and many coaches, many teams that use them in their drafting processes, in using particularly positional advanced statistics to decide shot charts, the way specific players shoot, minutes, distributions, etc. Right? Like, these things do exist. It doesn't absolutely determine the way the team plays.
And it's not heavily relied on.
It depends the team. No. Like Sam Presti, for instance, uses advanced statistics heavily from drafting process to what he wants his team to do on the floor.
But they're using something that's not reliable also. So, for example, to go back to 2018, analytics was used a lot by the Dodgers. You could actually hurt my argument and say the Dodgers used it a lot that season. But then my argument would be, again, one, they were doing things fine before analytics. 2, they could have done the same things with analytics. And 3, even though they used it a lot, it ended up hurting them.
Well, to me, the hurt-help argument is relevant to what I'm talking about now. Maybe we'll get there.
So let me ask you. So here's a random. I know this is a very random question for a random example, but it fits, because if analytics is reliable, then it's reliable. Period. Do you think it is a logical, factual, reasonable, or common sense thing to bench your top 4 home run hitters for more than one game? By the way, it was for more than one game in the World Series.
No.
Okay. So then if it can happen for more than one game in the World Series, don't you understand it can happen a bunch of other times for other games?
Yeah, but I don't think that has widely been the effect of analytics.
It was clearly analytics.
No. That you're wait, hold on one second.
Okay.
I am saying that this case is a great case point for the danger of analytics, and I would agree that there are dangers of analytics.
But
the problem with analytics is that they tend towards homogenization, right? They tend towards copying, and there was always, as you mentioned last time we spoke, like NBA in particular is a copycat league, right? You know, Tom Thibodeau develops the ice defense, and suddenly you see the ice defense all over the place, and that creates a reaction in offenses where they develop new mechanisms, more screens, more movement, and so on, right? But this idea that it can be done without,
yes,
or
the evidence is there.
You can do the same thing is idealistic.
Well,
right?
no. This is
what is actual.
But hang on. What I'm telling you about it can be done without. This is not a guess or opinion or belief or assumption. It actually had happened many times in many sports. Analytics, analytics wasn't always there, right?
What you're saying, but it's a tautology. What you're saying is championships are won every year. Basketball is played every year. Players are played every year. Different players score every year. Like, yes, of course these things happen with and without advanced statistics. All advanced statistics are a new set of tools that are introduced to the league that add a new variable.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying this happened, so therefore nothing else mattered. The things they did, whatever they did, who's going to start in this lineup, who's going to play this many minutes, who we're going to give the ball to, whatever they did, it not only happened without analytics, you can understand how they could figure it out without analytics. And if I'm wrong...
What do you mean by happening?
Well
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. And if I'm wrong, as you say, what do you mean by happening? You have to show me how when analytics came in, they figured it out. And then you have to explain to me why sometimes they get it wrong.
I think you're thinking about it wrong, right? You're, instead of accepting, right, that you now have this new variable, right? You already accept that scouts exist, that they're human judgment.
You've determined that. This is not my determination.
Okay. So you accept that scouts and their determinations affect outcomes in the league. You accept that coaches do. You accept that NBA players and their own individual judgments at the moment do. You accept that different strategies, styles of play, and here I'm just going to stick to basketball. You accept that GMs, various financial streams, etc. All of these things that are based on human judgment go into a basketball game and transform the outcomes, the specific outcomes, such that no game is exactly the same.
But you're not saying that human judgment is what is the only thing happening, right? Other things are also playing a role.
Of course, right, of course. Right. But these are, but one of the particular things that you're stating about advanced statistics is that they are sort of this magical application of mathematics, where someone arbitrarily or stupidly takes coefficients and regressions and tinkers with numbers, producing an output, and then applies that output willy-nilly.
Yep, that's right. You said it all beautifully. Yes.
Now, what I find to be wrong about that, one, I would say this. The way that fans use advanced statistics, and particularly the shift from what were originally when we were using largely box scores, and when you refer to per, like a attempt to represent the total value of a player, to now the more current shift, which are what I would say more nominal applications, which are largely based on season by season analysis of on and off court value to determine a player's value compared to the mean of the league at that time, right?
Okay.
So that shift has changed how advanced statistics are used. the latter is more used than the former. Like, you're very unlikely
That's what you said.
to ever have had a
That's
team
what
that
you
used
say. I haven't seen evidence that it's gotten to that level. This is what you, Michael Jordan fans, say.
Well, I mean, I was reading an article about Indiana Pacers, the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was a list of 6 teams: the 76ers, the Houston Rockets, and then another article about Brad Stevens when he was coaching the Boston Celtics, and is now in a position of control over basketball decisions. All of their heavy embrace of advanced statistics, and this comes from a particular hiring practice that's going on in the NBA right now.
Okay. But a couple of things here.
Yeah.
One, lots of people have lots of beliefs about lots of stuff. Having cherry-picked articles, interviews, videos, or whatever of people telling you things of what they supposedly believe doesn't tell me if they actually believe these things, because people say lots of things for lots of different reasons, which I can get into if you want in a second. And B, it doesn't mean they're right. And C,
I could say the same about the quote from Jerry West.
And C, I could find you way more on the other side, not just Jerry West.
No, of course. And I was looking up quotes from NBA players. I found one from Josh Smith that I thought was particularly telling, where he essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing, that it endangers the league. I would never trust someone who's never played basketball to make basketball decisions, right? And so that is what I was talking about before when I described it as a culture war. I think you took that to be an analogy with how people use culture war in the political sphere.
I wouldn't label it as a culture war, but if you want to, that's your thing. I wouldn't label it as a culture war.
Yeah, and so that's fair. You can say it's not a culture war, and I'll walk that back. But what I do believe is happening is that it's new. So, when you're looking for overwhelming...
It's not new. It's been around for a while. As you said...
New in comparison to the existence of the league.
But by this logic...
in a sense that it came out in the last couple of years.
But by this logic, you're going to say it's not new after 100 years? I mean, it's been long enough. How many
Advanced statistics? Advanced statistics, one, could not be calculated before 1974.
You're not getting me. What I'm saying is, if you're saying, this is why I'm saying it's new comparatively to what you said, by your logic, it has to be around for 100 years for it to be new. In other words, how long does it have to be out for you to say, okay, people get it?
All I'm saying, literally what I'm saying, is that compared to the traditional methods of basketball evaluation, it is a relatively new type of analysis
it's misleading, because if something was around for 400 years and something else came around for 70 years, well, 70 is a relatively new compared to 400.
But it hasn't been 70.
No, I know. I'm giving you an extreme example to show you on a higher level. Just because something is not around as long as something else doesn't mean it's still so new that people don't get it. In fact, I can tell you this: even if you were right. Let's say you were right, it is relatively new. The reason that's not going to matter is because all anybody has to do is go look up the definition of how something, for example, like PER is determined, go look at the PER list, and they can see for themselves it's ridiculous and inconsistent.
But that's the whole function of experimental knowledge, the application of applied statistics. And this happens in other fields. Like in social sciences, this isn't the idea of using applied statistics isn't even questioned. It's essential to the process of the field. Personally, as someone who works in it, right?
Well, this is what you believe
about social sciences.
No, but everything you said, you're painting a brush as if it works everywhere all the time. Not all the time. Sorry, not all the time, but it works in general.
No, that's not even what I'm saying, right? And in social sciences, you're going to get some brilliant studies that will tell you something new and counterintuitive about the world, and you have others that will fail. And the only way to tell that is over time, right?
Or you could prove it.
Yes, time is what proves it.
Right. But
right?
analytics. But this wouldn't.
And never. And one last point.
Go ahead.
And never, ever are those studies one-to-one representations of what actually happened.
But this
right?
wouldn't,
and that is accepted as part of the science.
This would not apply to sports analytics because you don't need a long time to prove if analytics are right. In fact, you've had plenty of time to prove if it's right. And actually, some of them you will never prove because some of these are just hypotheticals. Like, what if the example you gave in one of the other videos about the pace of play, if Wilt Chamberlain played in his time versus another time, you'll never figure those out.
Sorry, go ahead and finish that. I'll make a quick comment.
No, that was it. I was saying you'll never figure, with the example you gave of Wilt Chamberlain. I finished it. I was like, you're never going to be able to prove those. They're hypotheticals then.
Yeah. Now, with the Wilt Chamberlain example, it isn't saying that what would Wilt Chamberlain do in the future.
Well, whatever it was.
No, all it is saying is, and we had I never got to, I never did comment on this before, but just to be clear, all it is saying is that if you go by a possession-by-possession basis, we can give you a value per possession, right? Now obviously, there's an abstraction in that. What'd you say?
It's a made-up value.
Of course, but as I'm saying, right, these made-up values are going to have more or less applicability, and, right, they come in various different forms.
No, but did you hear what you just said? You say of course, it's a made-up value, and then you say, basically, look at what it concludes. You're proving my point, which is remember in the other phone call I said just because there's no flying invisible elephant doesn't mean that you can make the point that the flying invisible elephant is the reason that something's happening.
But it's not a flying invisible elephant.
Again, I'm giving an extreme example to show you.
No.
Just because something happened with it doesn't mean that the thing made it happen.
No, but that's not the case. So, like, what are the coefficients in a lot of these statistics, especially right now with what is being used both in the NBA and outside of the NBA, right?
To a small
synergy
level.
Statistics.
What was that?
There are teams. Okay, so every single NBA team, every single one has synergy statistics, right? Adam Silver, which has one of the two largest teams of advanced analysts, has made available and instituted the technology in every single stadium. And all that synergy statistics do is it tracks movement and the position of shots on the floor.
But hang on a second. They're not ranking. They're not coming to conclusions. What you guys, you Michael Jordan fans, when you go by analytics, you're ranking and coming to conclusions.
I haven't gotten into Michael Jordan at all. I'd like to wait on that.
No, I didn't say you did, but I'm just showing you.
I'm just asking to wait on that because as I already said, I think there's a very big difference between how it's applied in the NBA, how it functions in the NBA, and how it functions within how it's transferred into like fan debates and the argument about like.
Go ahead. I haven't noticed any difference with how it's used in the NBA or with fans. It's the same thing.
In the NBA, I do not like. I think the way that they attempt to quantify things is a lot more detailed than what has become the trend.
Actually, no. Most franchises use it to a minimum amount. Fans use it way more.
I said nothing about that. I'm talking
about
the
NBA. You said the NBA. That's the NBA.
The NBA does use it. Teams certainly do use it, and some teams substantially.
I didn't say they don't use it at all. You're missing what I'm saying. They use it to a minimum amount, and this has to get back into. I have to give you examples.
It depends the team.
No, it's a general thing. I'm sure look. No one has a department where they all have the same timestamp where they say we were all using it for an hour. But there's no. Let me keep it to you simple. Forget about what people say. Forget about what I've read. Forget about logic and all that. How about this? There is no evidence that the majority of the NBA world uses it as a major factor. If you have the evidence, you win.
I would say that the time management shift in the amount that people play is directly tied to advanced statistics?
No, you made that up.
Yes.
You made that up. Time management.
No, I did not.
This is another thing that you Michael Jordan fans have come up with.
No, it comes from the combination of two sources of information.
All right, what are the two sources?
The analysis of distance, the analysis of distance run, and advanced medical.
No, well, you'd have to prove you'd have to prove this to me, because I can tell you why time management or load management has become a thing now. It's always been there. It's always been a thing. But according to Michael Jordan fans, this is a recent phenomenon with this new soft generation. And I'll tell you why it's being used more often now. You don't
need to add the qualifiers in the conversation.
I have. The reason I have to, I'll tell you why I did that. You may or may not think it's soft. I don't know. But I have to go by patterns of Michael Jordan fans who think certain things about today's NBA. So I would guess that either you think it's soft, or they shoot too many threes, or they're not as physical, or there's something where you question today's NBA because...
I believe none of that.
Okay, fine.
I think today's NBA is brilliant.
Okay, great. If you're one of the few, I still would say soft, because people who are Michael Jordan fans in general have some question mark about today's NBA. So I wasn't implying that you did it, but I do think that when you guys bring up load management or time management or whatever management, then that's also a pattern. Not I think, I know it's a pattern with you Michael Jordan fans. So to get back to that topic now, what I was saying was... go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Finish what you're saying.
So what I was saying earlier was, the main reason, I don't say this is the only reason. I'm not saying this is the only reason. The main reason they're doing this load management, time management, take it easy management, whatever, is because the owners know they're paying hundreds of millions of dollars as an investment to their players, and it's not worth the risk for them to play if they're not able to or if they don't want to.
I think these aspects, what is their intention and what is the mechanism by which they determine how much they can do it, the maximum way that they can push it, are connected.
Fair enough. I agree.
They do so through the analysis of data.
That's your belief. That's your belief.
No, it's just something that's quite well documented.
It's not. No, it's not. Well, then if it's well documented, you have to explain two things to me. One, how come this happened before analytics? And two, why would you dismiss the obvious answer that they're paying players lots of money?
Well, I think that would make it counterintuitive. They're paying them more for less time.
No,
right?
They've always done that. Baseball.
No.
I'll give you an example from your time. Well, I don't say you personally, but Michael Jordan fans' time in general. They love the 1980s and 1990s. Kevin Brown was given an extremely large contract, one of the first biggest ones by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and it went all the way to the end of his older years. And as many people have documented over the years, when franchises give players these 11-year contracts, they're not really paying them when they're 44 years old. They're just paying them because this is what they asked for. They're paying them for their prime years. Most of these guys never stay there for all those years. So again, to my point, they always did this kind of thing in the past.
Wait. Okay. If you're saying that there have always been decisions made about how much people play, then of course.
Well, I'm saying more than that.
Then what is the more?
I'm saying they always gave them time management, load management, more years, more money for their investment and all that. It's not a recent phenomenon. And even if I'm wrong, let's say I'm wrong, there is no evidence that the light bulb came on in all their heads because of analytics. In fact, that's a silly thing.
Okay, this is what I mean by a binary logic, right? It is a continuum. It is not that there was one day that there were no analytics, and then at some point there was analytics, and then everybody had a switch flip.
I know. I know you're not saying that.
Their brain has been transformed, and they now think analytic.
I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying to you as a simple summarized version, there's no light bulb thing, because if you want to say one day the light bulb came on or it happened over time, there's no evidence that's true, and it's not logical to think that human beings can't figure it out on their own without analytics.
It's not that I'm saying that human beings can't figure out on their own. It's irrelevant if they can figure it out on their own.
Well, then what are you saying?
They now have a voice, right? And you can see this just by the papers that these statisticians release, which are about injury management and injury likelihood by how many miles a player runs over here, tracked by Synergy Statistics, by how many games are played.
You're still not getting.
It is a form of risk management, exactly as you said.
That's not analytics.
That is analytics. That's absolutely part of analytics.
It's not. If somebody says, I'll give you two examples. If someone does the simple example, well, we're paying more and more money to these players for more and more years, and maybe they're getting hurt more, or maybe they want to rest more, maybe they can't play or whatever. Let's give the contract that they want. They're always, being open to get the star player. If you're saying, well, look, they did a few more details, the details that you gave, those small details. Not everyone just said, aha, I'm going to trust those ones, and that's not analytics anyway.
No, of course not. You can look at Tom Thibodeau, a guy who is famously anti-analytics, using his players in the playoffs considerably more than any other team.
But what does that prove? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there have been major injuries. Now, you cannot say certainly that those injuries came from the extended playing time, but you can make a reasonable inference from what's going on as to how teams maintain health and how teams don't.
That's your belief, and I'll give you a great example how I can prove it to you. There have been many people, I wish I had one of the players' name, I put the video up on my first page, where he said one of the reasons players get injured a lot now, and they're taking time off, is because a lot of them jump really high and drive really fast and are always doing these special crossover moves and all that. They're doing certain things that some of the past players didn't do as much, and so they have a higher risk of injury. Another person,
I would consider that absolutely true.
Okay, Dominic.
These things are not mutually.
Right. Dominic Wilkins also said that we were trained to take certain things. Don't quote me, okay? It's on the video. It's on my first page. He said the way we were trained. We fall to the floor, we get that wood, and our bodies could adapt to it, and we can get up to it. And he made it seem like some of these players now, they're not getting trained the same way. And
that I find silly.
That's fine. But
absolute speculation.
But hang on. It doesn't matter if you think it's silly or not. I'm trying to show you when you get into the logic of what people think is happening, and you have lots of people thinking the same thing. You can't dismiss it and go, it's because of analytics.
No, I think that there is constantly this narrative about all of the reasons why people were tougher back in the day, which just aren't the case. The fact is that guys are just not allowed. The team mandates players to not play on certain injuries. I'm sure there are guys who, and I've heard it talked about.
They had mandates in the past too.
Yeah, of course they did. Yeah. They are just increasing, and they are increasing for a reason, because they are trying to maintain player health and that value of that contract.
So then here's what I'll say. If you're saying to me, look, this narrative that everyone back then was just tougher and everyone today is not as good is garbage, I would agree, because it really depends. You can't paint a broad brush and say everything tougher back then, everything today easier. You can't do that. But at that point, you could, to be fair, you could give a fair argument that as you go back in time, players in the past had it tougher.
Had it tougher. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Please explain.
So for example, I won't give you too many just so you can have time to respond. I'll just give you 4. Is that not too much, not too little?
That's great.
Okay, great. If you have shoes that are not as good, if you have a floor that's not as good, if you have to deal, if you have you don't have as many, you don't make as much money. If you don't have as much, if you don't have as many assistants helping you, you're going to have it tougher compared to recent players.
Yeah, that makes some sense to me. I don't think it's so massive that
it's massive. It's massive, especially when you go back farther in time. The farther back you go, the more massive it gets. I only gave you 4 examples. There's more.
No, I would say that's fair. That you would say it gets more intense as we go back in time.
Right.
But if we were comparing now to the 2000s, I would say like the technological leaps in shoes and in, sorry, can you repeat the four?
Yeah, sure. No, one was shoes, one was NBA floors, one was
Yes.
a less assistance, and I think the fourth one was less money. I don't have the exact order. It was something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say like it becomes pretty minor in relatively recent range of time. But yeah, if you're going back to the beginning of basketball, or you're going to the 1960s when people are playing in Converse All-Stars, the likelihood that someone's going to sprain their ankle is like far higher, and then other major injuries. What I also
let me just follow up to that real quickly. Actually, go ahead if you want to. If it's a new thing, let me follow up. But if you're continuing, go ahead.
all I was going to say was, but what I do think is that another thing that those players didn't have was the constant, and there's applied statistics and analytics that goes into these new medical regimes, right?
No, medical analytics and doctors, that's a totally different thing from sports analytics. That's a completely different field.
But it is a type of applied statistics, right? Which does not give you an exact factual representation of truth.
Analytics are not statistics. You understand that?
I understand that you don't believe applied statistics are real statistics.
No, yes. I said analytics are not statistics. I didn't say applied statistics.
Analytics are applied statistics.
Well,
and
okay.
So they are forms of
statistics. So let me just, this is let's just establish definition. What do you call applied statistics? What is the definition?
Applied statistics would be an attempt to take a data set and process it through different variables, different constraints, and then provide an answer. That's the most simple definition.
And they are applying analytics. It is the analytics that are not statistics. You, Michael, I've had this.
Here's what here's what the coefficients are. Things like height. Things like the position of the player.
Wait, what are you talking? Hold on. What are you talking about? Analytics has a number of ridiculous. You're going by the ones that you like. What about the ones you don't like?
You'll have to refer. Are you just talking about PER, or is there something else?
No, analytics in general. Anything called analytics in sports is not statistics.
No, like if you look at the wide range of what are called on-off stats, right? Applied on-off stats for the.
You're not getting me. You're not getting me.
They're not using championships. They're not using the things that you are identifying.
Right, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. When you go to applied statistics, you're jumping ahead to something that they're calculating, and the calculations or the formulas are based on analytics. Analytics itself is not statistics. They're not reliable.
What they are doing is they are taking box metrics. Right,
which is not reliable.
What you're saying? A rebound isn't equal to a rebound.
See, that's the slick thing that you guys do. I've had this debate with many Michael Jordan fans about what's the definition of statistics and analytics. Let me explain this to you. Statistics are statistics. Analytics are not statistics. They're analytics. That's the reason they have different definitions. All analytics in sports, they use some statistics. That's true. You didn't say this to me, but you're implying it, and a lot of Michael Jordan fans say it and apply it where they go, aren't there numbers in analytics? Yes, there are, but it's not all numbers. It's formulas, guesses, hypotheticals, and so on.
I am aware of, I do not talk about an analytic if I don't go and look at the formula. Okay. So I will know what is going in.
Then why don't you?
If someone were to...
Here's a question I asked in another video. Why don't you rely on all the analytics?
Because I can look at the formulas and I can see if there is like an absurd thing that they add as coefficient.
No, hold on. I know your reasoning. I know that you have determined some are absurd and some are not. What I'm saying to you is, if you are making the case for analytics and then showing me applied statistics, then by your logic, analytics are trustworthy. But when I ask you, why don't you go by all analytics, you have now to determine some are trustworthy.
I already explained this to you. My view of analytics is that analytics are tools. They have various
And
functions.
I explained,
they can do certain things better or worse.
I addressed that. But I'm trying to go to this now. If analytics are reliable, I guess I have two questions. One, why are you not going by all of them? And two, I could find someone else who will tell me that, hey, the analytics that you don't like, he thinks are reliable, and the ones you like are absurd.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
But I would ask the same question: is would you trust the opinion of every single scout in all times? Would you trust
any opinion in general? I shouldn't say any. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying sorry. I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm trying to be nice. So any opinion in general. Yeah, thanks for understanding. Any opinion in general is not wrong or right. It's an opinion.
I'm not sure. Like some of the things you say are
factual,
I'm not sure,
consistent.
like what conclusion to take. But they're so reductive.
No, they're
right?
they're reductive.
Like that,
no, they're reductive in your mind because you have determined your belief is the analytics that you like are reliable. So therefore, when I deny those analytics, you're basically saying that why am I denying them?
This is a mistake you're making because I'm not talking when I talk about the NBA and its application of statistics. I'm not talking about statistics I like or don't like.
Why do you keep calling them statistics? They're analytics.
Okay, so if you take a set of NBA statistics and then you apply coefficients that are height, average height of players in the league.
Let's just
amount of possession.
I just want to establish.
Average amount of possession.
I just want to establish.
What is the non-factual?
I just want to establish something. Do you agree there are two definitions? One is statistics, or two words. One is statistics. One is analytics. Do you agree with that?
Okay. Analytics
What's a yes or no?
are a type of applied statistics.
It's a yes or no.
It's a yes or no. Of statistics.
Wait. If you don't mind, can you answer the question? Do you agree statistics and analytics have two different definitions? I'm rephrasing the question.
What do you mean by analytics, other than advanced statistics?
I assure you, in sports in the NBA world, there's only one type of analytics.
No. I'm saying outside of the sports world. Because this distinction would have to apply across all forms
I see.
Of statistics and applied statistics.
Well, obviously, in this case, we're referring to sports, more specifically the NBA.
Yes, but for it to make sense to me, for it to be like proven to me that this development of applied statistics in the form of advanced statistics,
you keep going back
which is a form of analytics.
You keep going back to applied statistics. You can't get to there until you establish what is being applied. It's the analytics.
What is being applied is more data than what you get out of a typical box.
That's what you believe. That's your belief.
No, you can just look. You can just look at VORP or look at Raptor or look at various analytic systems, and they will tell you exactly what are the analytics. None of them are non-factual.
You're still not getting me. The applied statistics. I don't say there's nothing statistical in there or there's nothing factual in there. I'm saying that pie that you're relying on is partly with analytics.
Sorry, it's partly with analytics. Can you just clarify a little
bit? From what you told me, you said the applied statistics is you going by some of its analytics, right? That's what you told me, so I assumed that was true.
Yes, of course.
So what I'm saying to you is, instead of focusing on the part of applied statistics that is factual and has statistics, why are you ignoring the fact that they have some things that are analytics, which means that part is not statistics and it's not factual?
I thought you were asking me to say that something is either statistical or analytic.
Oh, at some point I was. Yes.
Okay, well then I can't. I'm not going to answer in the way that you like me to.
No, hold on. I'm not pigeonholing you. I'm not trying to trap you or confuse you or anything. I'm asking a very
I misphrased that. Okay. We don't have to.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say.
Okay, go ahead.
What I mean is that from my experience in the uses of applied statistics across different things, from markets to the analysis of populations to the development of political policy, right? Like that aspect of analysis is essential, and this is entirely
Then by your logic, if what you're saying is true, I would imagine you would want to be consistent and then conclude all analytics are reliable. But you don't do that.
No, because it's like I don't know where you get that conclusion from what I'm saying.
It's very normal. If I said to you, I think statistics are reliable, and then I said to you, but not all statistics are reliable. Do you see the problem there or no?
No, but I agree with that statement.
Oh no, but
right?
Okay, so then you don't see the problem, right? Then you don't see the problem.
No, basketball. No, let me conclude why I make that proposition.
Okay, go ahead.
Basketball is gamified. It is a game. So you get these immediate, direct representations of actions on the court, right? Whereas if you expand that to all spheres, then it doesn't hold.
No, you're still not getting.
Politics aren't gamified.
I'm not even saying any of these things. I'm literally keeping at sports, in particular the NBA world, that all analytics in the world are not the same type of analytics. There's a difference between if you went to a medical world and you use medical analytics or whatever versus NBA analytics. So we're not talking about that universal word analytics. We're talking about it here. In here, there is a distinct difference factually between statistics and analytics. This is not my belief, it is a fact.
But, like, for instance, medical and what you're calling advanced analytics, I guess, advanced analytics
I'm not calling it that.
Are used in tandem.
Right. But no, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, okay, I see what you're saying. They use it however they want to use it, but it doesn't mean it's reliable.
But it doesn't mean it's not reliable.
No, but that's not an answer. You can't say to me, well, you can't say to me just because there's no flying unicorn in space doesn't mean there's no flying unicorn in space.
That's not equivalent.
It's the same thing.
What I'm saying is there are tests. What there are in using applications. There is only the application. There is only the case. When it works, continue using it. When it doesn't work, you try something new.
If that was true, and I say if because I don't think that's true, but I'm going to go with you on this, then you have to explain to me, one, why is there whatever word you want to use, majority, half the people, a big chunk, or whatever, who don't rely on it, and two, how did they do the same exact things with the same exact results before analytics?
I see, this is where you lose me. I just do not understand what you mean by the same things with the same exact results.
Let me give you some example. I'll give you a hypothetical. If they wanted to draft Michael Jordan in the NBA or trade for Michael Jordan or sign him as a free agent or whatever, nobody would sit there and say, I'm not sure, send me the analytics.
Yeah. But what is certainly happening is if you have a player coming, if it's Michael Jordan, if it's Bill Russell, if it's Tim Duncan, right? Every team in the league that has the money and has the opportunity is trying to get these players, right?
Right.
But when it gets to more difficult acquisitions and more specific acquisitions, teams use as much data and understanding as they can to see how a player will fit.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. The mistake you're making again is you are putting analytics under that umbrella of everything else that's reliable. When you say data, analytics are not statistics. They're not raw numbers.
Okay. If you were to just use raw numbers, you would have worse outcomes.
I never said to you, only use raw numbers. In other words, what I'm saying to you is, if you want to make a pie, hopefully a vegan pie, but if you want to make a pie, I'm not saying you only have to use fruits. You can use whatever you want. But when you start using something that shouldn't be in the pie, don't ignore that.
But again, to go back to what I was originally talking about, the difference between the way fans apply this knowledge and the way statisticians in the NBA do, again, they are relying on very specific systems that are even more concrete than
you're telling me your beliefs. These are all your beliefs.
No. Yes. Synergy statistics, right? That ground that is allowing
we went through this. Synergy statistics does not rank and come to conclusions.
It does come to conclusions.
Right?
They use it to come to conclusions. They use that information.
I thought you might say that.
To analyze.
I thought you might say that. Let me clarify. When they come to conclusions, if you have a board meeting and you say, what's our best bet? Here is our conclusion. That's a different type of conclusion compared to Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA player of all time and analytics are reliable.
We haven't gotten to Michael Jordan.
I know we haven't. But I'm just showing you something.
But
this whole purpose of analytics is ties into Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get there. But what I can say is,
but it's part of it. We're doing it.
When you use that example, when you use the application of synergy and the various applications that it's found, which are many, you can say this is a powerful and useful, as Adam Silver himself said, application of advanced.
I don't understand what is why is Adam Silver the end all be all? The NBA made an.
He's not the end all be all. What he did was give an interesting speech.
Adam Silver's role is to make sure all the money makers are making money, and he's not going to say anything that's going to make them look stupid. In other words, let's say he thought analytics were bad, okay? Let's say look at this hypothetical. Let's say Adam Silver thought analytics were bad. Do you think he's going to say, everybody, we all made a mistake to use analytics, and I hope everyone can forgive us. We're idiots, and analytics are not reliable.
I hope that in time that you will recognize that, when you give wide laity to certain voices, and then you become immediately dismissive of other voices.
Wrong again. I explained this to you. I don't really. I've told you more than once. I don't care about opinions are not right or wrong. I don't say just because someone says something they're reliable. What I did was when I showed you the Jerry West and the other people, I was trying to ask you two logical questions. If they're so reliable, why are so many people not using them, especially the people who are very respected? And two, when you want to cherry pick your examples, why are you ignoring the majority of the people?
As I said before, with NBA teams, every single team in the league has a statistics department. How much do they use them? That is vague.
But no, not according to you. You have made it seem like more than once, on more than one call, don't quote me, I don't have your exact words, but you have made it seem like they use it way more than, they use it a lot.
I've not said a lot, I've not said a little.
I said, come on, man. I said I don't have the exact words.
What I have said
more than
are
once
how.
You have made.
Earlier.
But this has to be
Let me respond?
This has to be established. You didn't say necessarily. I don't know if you said the word a lot or you didn't. If you said you didn't, fine. But I didn't. I told you I don't have the exact words. But you have made it seem like more than once on more than one call that they use it a lot or they use it way more than people realize.
No, I've not ever said more.
Okay, well, you're changing. Well, then you're changing.
No, I'm not changing. What I have said.
If it's vague,
please
if it's vague, why would you even disagree on these things then?
You didn't let me finish what I was going to say. So for some teams it is vague, but for other teams it is clearer.
Well, that's not what you said. You said when we were talking about how much the NBA world uses it, you didn't say for some it's vague, for some it's clear. You said it's vague for the NBA world.
No, what I said before is what I know are the wide application of advanced statistics across the NBA, right? So I know these specific applications, right? How they use a specific stat or don't use a specific stat.
You're again calling it advanced statistics. What happened to analytics?
What?
You're again saying advanced statistics. What happened to analytics?
Analytics is a part of advanced statistics.
Right, so before you jump to if advanced statistics are reliable, can you determine if analytics are reliable?
I don't think you understand what you're asking.
I do.
It is irrelevant. It is absolutely irrelevant.
Our debate is based on analytics. You are going to advanced statistics.
What our debate about is if these things are actually applied. All we've gotten to, and all I think we're going to get to, is are these things used? And from my standpoint. Your end is completely different. But my end is to get at the point that some of the questions you're asking are are meaningless to the application and the use of statistics in the NBA.
Give me one question that was meaningless. Give me one.
Like asking. Sorry, I hate misquoting someone. But like when you're saying things like it could be done before and can be done after. Like I don't think that appreciates what's actually happening.
Oh, I agree.
An idealistic phrase.
I agree. It does not appreciate it, but you're taking it. It's the other way around. You are over appreciating something that shouldn't be that appreciated. It's not a meaningless question because if things happened before analytics that were similar and they happen today with analytics, and in theory they could happen without analytics, then the question is not meaningless when I ask, how do you explain these things? Number two, you then have to show me factually, which you have not done. You tell me a lot of your beliefs, but you haven't shown me factually how they are reliable. Number three, you still haven't shown me why the majority of the NBA world does not rely on them, other than you saying you gave some reasons on the other program why sometimes like the older generation and all that, they don't like it or whatever. And number four, how do you explain that in sports, especially the NBA world, the people who love analytics the most are usually Michael Jordan fans?
I definitely won't. I don't have going backwards. Let's just go because I'll remember them better. So the Michael Jordan thing, I think at the beginning of the popularization of advanced statistics, which does not coincide with its introduction to the NBA, but really the popularization happens through ESPN and John Hollinger and the player efficiency rating. And that player efficiency rating, in it giving a supposed total representation of a player's value, right, as a single statistic, as a single analytic, that confirmed previous biases because it had Michael Jordan as first, right? So like that engaged a lot of people. I think there were other reasons as
John
well.
Hollinger?
But John Hollinger, the creator.
No. You think a lot of people know who he is and started relying on him?
They don't know who John Hollinger is, but they know what player efficiency rating is, and that was a lot of. I would say that it was where many people were introduced into the world of advanced statistics.
No, PER, according to you. Well, I want to confirm something. Are you saying? Let me try this. If you're giving the example that you gave about PER and all that, you earlier made it seem like it was around more first and more longer with baseball.
No. What I was saying was that Bill James and the development of advanced statistics as a method existed in baseball before, and has been more widely studied than it has been in the NBA. Okay. It's only been recent in the NBA that we've gotten lots of papers and studies.
It hasn't been that recent. No, it's been out for a pretty long time.
No, it's hiring people trying to find these forms of quantification has existed for 20 years. The amount of publishing is what I'm talking about.
No, the publishing has been going on for a very long time.
I'm talking about amount, not the existence of the thing, right?
No, I got you. I got you.
It's become far more. The idea that there is a comparable amount of papers published in analyzing basketball is a result of the introduction of things like synergy. Where there's this new data that didn't exist before.
Actually, no. If an 11-year-old kid reads a newspaper article where there's an article that goes, this guy is better than that guy because of OBS plus WT1 plus box minus and whatever, and he has no idea what it is, but he goes, well, these people in the media, hey, it's an article, it must be reliable, and they are using numbers, and it sounds smart and all that. They're not thinking John Hollinger or PER or, as a synergy and all that. They're just assuming it's reliable.
No, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm talking about the inception point for its interest in basketball. Player efficiency rating was the first widely popularized analytic in the NBA sphere, and it was used without anybody understanding because John Hollinger didn't publish on ESPN how PR worked until years later.
But it was popular in baseball, so why would PER be the one for basketball?
As I said, I think it created a confirmation bias, which is that it ranked Michael Jordan as first.
Well, then okay, I see. If you're saying, part of what, there's two things here. One, part of what you're telling me is your belief. But the second thing that you said about PER and Michael Jordan, the confirmation bias, then, that part you're right about.
Well, what I'm saying, you're saying it's belief. What I'm doing is making a historical statement, right, about what happened at what time, right, and what statistic was most widely accepted. That is a fact.
No, it's not a fact. It's your belief.
Can I get you the exact year, the exact amount of people? No, I cannot.
And neither can I. But you can use logic here, which is when you know, as you pointed out, it's been around for a long time in baseball. It was being used, and it came into basketball and all that. Even though we both agree there's no specific day and there's no specific reason, it didn't just come into basketball for the synergy, John Hollinger, PER, and all that. It was a multiple amount of reasons.
No, but what you're doing is you're pushing nearly, I think, I have to look it up. Synergy appears in the teens. John Hollinger starts writing about PER around 2004. Okay. So there's a massive gap between those
there is. But
as far as distance
2004 is a long time ago.
Yeah, well, relatively long, but not so long in the scale of basketball.
No, but that goes back to that argument I gave you earlier: 70 years versus 400. Yeah, 70 is relatively newer, but 70 is still a long time.
Yeah, no, I think if you're talking about any specific institution, you should think of it in terms of its own unique time scale.
It depends. So if you're talking about cars versus horse and buggy, that's very different. If you're talking about people, liking girls who dress in blue, that's not going to be that different.
No, what I'm talking about is scouting and the traditional forms of analysis and using advanced statistics as a form of analysis.
Okay, if you're going to go by that, I could go back to this whole thing again. I'm actually not even sure if you agree or not, because I've gotten signs you agree, but then I gotten signs you disagree. The majority of the NBA world does not like analytics.
I find no means of quantifying that. I can find a lot of NBA players making statements about their dislike of analytics.
So then I have to prove it to you. So there's a lot of reasons which I won't. It's not practical for me to go over every reason. So would 4 be not too many, not too little?
4 of what?
4 reasons why I know the majority of the NBA world does not like it.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, the first one is not a fact. So you don't have to tell me it's not a fact, because I'm admitting to it's not a fact. I'm using logic here. I know logically that when you evaluate a player, his height, his weight, his personality, what he did in the game statistically, I know logically that people are not going to say, I need analytics to figure things out. They can do it without the analytics. Now, that doesn't prove anything. That's just one step. Number 2, I read the interviews after interviews after interviews of old and young and middle-aged or whatever, and the overwhelming majority, we're not even talking about maybe majority.
Middle-aged, young, old what? Basketball players?
Basketball people. The world, the NBA world. They don't like analytics. They question it. Number 3. I'm almost done here.
Just let me. Okay, you want to finish? Go ahead.
Yeah. Number 3. In the NBA world, I know for a fact, and there's many reasons I know this for a fact, there are many franchises, not all of them, but most of them, who have it just because they don't want to be thought of as grandfather people who are stuck in the past. They want to have up to date, like they're new and modern. And some people say, well, if everyone else is doing it, maybe we should do it too. And they think, well, if this whole hoopla about analytics is there, maybe there's something to it. Let's just have it just in case we're not at a disadvantage. And the
last thing may be true. The first things are completely unquantifiable.
We'll get into that if you want. And the last and final thing, there is no fact to prove analytics are reliable.
There is no fact to prove analytics are reliable. Again, what I think is the gap between the way that we think about this is that what I see analytics as is a speculative tool.
I agree.
Right? It's speculative in the same way that the judgment of an individual is speculative, except it uses far more tactile things than feelings.
Wrong.
Right?
Wrong. It's speculative.
No.
It's speculative.
No.
It's Well, no, like you said earlier, let me explain this. It's speculative, so you're right on that part. But they're not just going to speculation. They're going, and when I say they, I'm referring to people like you who defend it. You guys are coming to conclusions, and you're not being consistent with your own criteria.
What conclusion are you referring to?
So, for example, part of the you want the consistency part too, or just the conclusion part?
The conclusion.
Okay. For example, part of the reason you rank Michael Jordan as a number one NBA player of all time is because of analytics.
Wait. I'll just quickly say my feelings. As I started to at the beginning, just very quickly. I think do you believe that? I'll ask you a question first. Do you believe that certain players can be better than other players?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I believe that there are anywhere between 8 and 12 players that have meaningful, complex, varied arguments
8
for
to 12?
being the best NBA player of all time.
8 to 12?
Yes.
Aside from the fact that's a very small number, you can't recognize how you just made up something?
No, it's not. Like, this is my personal judgment.
It's your say the right word. It's your personal belief.
A judgment is a belief.
Well, I'd like to think that when I go in the dictionary and I look up belief and judgment, there's two different definitions. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you don't want to use the word belief because of what that means. So you went to judgment because it doesn't look as questionable.
Fine, I will always say belief. I don't actually find anything wrong with belief.
Me neither. Me neither.
So, and what I think about the NBA and about sports in general is that the process of drafting, of choosing players, of deciding how they play, of all of these different elements that go into creating a game and playing that game have multiple layers of belief.
Agreed.
And
so far, so good.
I believe that advanced statistics are a fascinating and complex new form of analysis that contains elements of belief and elements of statistics that produce new counterintuitive results that are going to be more or less successful based on how they are applied and what is applied.
I agreed with all of that except for two things. It's fascinating to me because they're so ridiculous, and the results are not actually factual results, they are guesses.
They are factual in the sense that they happen.
That's true, but
right?
you're not talking about that they happen. But you're not talking about that they happen. You're talking about that they're
what I'm talking about is what you seem to be stuck on is the difference between the virtual aspect of of advanced statistics and of analytics, right? They are inherently virtual. They are never going to be actual.
Actually, right? I'm stuck on a lot more than that. A lot more. I brought up, my main two things will always be facts and consistency, but I've also asked many other questions when it comes to this topic about analytics. Many other questions.
I mean, I know you've asked other questions with me. What I'm saying
and others.
Like this concern of factuality. It doesn't seem consistent with like the way that one would appreciate how judgments are made in basketball.
No, you're wrong. See, the problem you're doing now, and you did this before too, not just now. I'm not questioning judgment, beliefs, guesses, or assumptions, because in basketball, like many other things in life, that's all you can do. But when you guys, or anyone else actually, not just Michael Jordan fans, anyone else, when you guys come to conclusions with no facts to prove it, and you're not consistent with your own criteria, that is what I'm going to question. Those things.
See, this is where I think you're misapprehending what I believe about advanced statistics. And
analytics. You keep going back to advanced statistics. It's analytics we're talking about.
Okay. Do you understand that these words are used interchangeably?
I understand that you guys do that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you understand there's a category of analytics and there's a category of advanced statistics. So if we're talking
about the category of analytics, right? If we're talking at a philosophical level, analytics are the most concrete thing. If you're talking about where the definition derives from, Kantian philosophy, like analytics.
I thought it was John Hollinger.
The most, huh?
I thought it was John Hollinger.
No, I'm talking about the philosophical category.
But I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the philosophical mumbo jumbo. I'm talking about basketball, the NBA, sports, and all that.
Philosophical mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
What is logic?
I'm partly joking, man. You know, sometimes when you have debates with someone, sometimes what happens is they'll start to go into philosophy. Like they'll go, like I'm just going to give you a random example. Like, well, who determines what is right and wrong? Or if a tree falls down and no one's around, does it make noise? Or how do you know if we're all dreaming? And all that. There's more examples.
I understand what you're saying.
The point I'm saying is this philosophical mumbo jumbo.
Logic is a philosophical category.
What, say it again? I missed it. What was that? I was talking.
You understand that? I got you. Yeah. You understand that logic is a philosophical category.
Okay, what does that have to do with anything?
Why is it that if someone were to say that I apply analytic philosophy and you're saying I apply logical philosophy, why is it that you think one is eminently better than the other?
What was it? One than the other? What was a comparison?
Why is one eminently better than the other?
One what? What are the comparisons?
Logic to philosophical analytics. Philosophical logic to philosophical analytics.
Well, first of all, I'm talking specifically sports. I'm not even getting into...
But you are still applying a philosophy.
Right, no, I understand that. And my philosophy, if you want to go by that, is trying to get you to go by facts and consistency. Your philosophy is to go by your beliefs and being consistent. No facts. Go by whatever you want.
No. Well, you can say whatever you want about my consistency or inconsistency.
And I assume you don't have a problem with that, right? Because it's philosophy.
I think consistency matters. I don't think it's an end all be all. I think I've been fairly consistent about my beliefs. But where it comes to belief, huh?
No, you have not been consistent with your own beliefs.
Please tell me.
Sure. I'll give you a great example. Sure, I'll give you a great example. Analytics. You act like analytics are reliable, and yet you yourself don't go by all of the analytics.
Again, see, like this type of determination, I don't think meaningfully can address. Like, if someone is taking analytics seriously, regardless of my belief.
I'll tell you.
Sorry, there's a lot of distortion. I want to let you know that I'm having a hard time hearing you, and you might be not hearing me.
Oh no, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me loud and clear now?
Perfectly.
Okay, great. So if you did, many times you have questioned my rationale, my consistency, if I'm going by logical things and so on. When I say anyway, but many times you won't prove to me why you're right and I'm wrong. You just keep telling me your guesses, your assumptions, your beliefs, and your opinions.
No, I just don't think that there is a meaningful way to say that advanced statistics aren't effective, right? Are useless.
I can give you. I actually gave you some examples. I don't know how you can ignore my examples and say there's no meaningful way.
The only thing that I've heard that was an example that I fully understood its application was the Dodgers example.
Okay, no,
which is interesting.
I gave 2 other examples. I can give you examples again. If you want, I'll give you some new ones. You want some new ones?
If they are if you're talking about direct applications of why you believe, as they've been applied in the NBA, they have created such counterintuitive results that you came to your belief that they are completely useless.
Yes, but even if I give you some examples, you could dismiss them. So why don't we just skip all that and just But hang on. Why don't you just convince me? Show me the proof. You have yet to show me any proof that you're right on anything you disagree on.
The reason why I'm not going, I don't know what you're asking me.
It's very simple. Show me the facts.
I would for instance, I would look at the recent drafting history of the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of the most active analytic systems, and see that they have found great value at multiple different positions.
Just real quick, whenever a Michael Jordan fan tells me something I don't know, I learned over the years not to rely on them. So when you say it's what you said about the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't know if you're right or wrong, but I would be willing to bet you're guessing.
No, I'm not guessing. I'm referring to articles I read that quoted Sam Presti and quoted the team.
What was the quote? I don't know. What was the quote?
I'll have to look it up.
But just to make sure, I'm referring to what you said about one of the most widely used analytics draft franchise, whatever, that whole thing.
Well, Presti has said that. Presti has said that just basically that analytics is extremely important to his process.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that they have extensively used it for their draft process, particularly in drafting and analyzing overseas players that are in unconventional situations, but also with everyone. Before San Antonio,
before I address
that,
before I address that, I just want to point out something. When people want a job and they want to stand out over everyone else, and they want to say, "Look, everyone, I'm new in your town, and I have some green oil here that'll make you taller, stronger, faster, and better." Even if they found out they were wrong, or even if they always knew that they were wrong, they're never going to say, "Don't give me your money. Don't rely on me." Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're making an analogy with snake oil. No, yes, I understand.
Yes. So in other words, but to be fair,
all I can say is at this point, like if I bring up examples of teams from GMs like Daryl Morey, Sam Presti, Brad Stevens, Danny Ainge, like people who have explicitly said
your cherry-picked examples, right?
I mean, cherry-picked Jerry West. Like you picked the guy who is the greatest. You didn't pick Josh Smith.
No,
hang on. Because Josh Smith is a terribly inefficient player. If you pick Josh Smith, it would sound silly.
That's more
Jerry West, it makes more sense.
That's more than once. I didn't bring up Josh Smith because I didn't know he did it. And there's lots of other people I didn't bring up because if I list every person in the history of mankind, with this phone call would be
George Gervin, Charles Barkley,
you're not getting
some of the greatest players of all time.
You're not getting me. If I list every player or every person that agreed with me, this phone call would be 1,000,000 hours. So what I did was,
hang on
a second. Because you're fine. You brought up Jerry West more than once now, and I've explained this to you more than once. I did these things with Jerry West and others because I was trying to show you that if you're going to cherry pick some examples of people who are on your side, why are you ignoring A, these very well-respected people who are more respected than your side, and B, why are you ignoring the majority of the NBA world? So I don't have to list Kevin Durant, George Gervin, Josh Smith, and all that because I'm saying to you in a simple way, the majority of the NBA world.
As I've been reading about it since we last spoke, my conclusion from all the information that I could find in that span of time is that players, in particular, are far more adverse to it than coaches and GMs.
I don't know what to tell you. Do more research. I can name 1,000,000 people. Well, I don't want to name 1,000,000.
Please talk to me about active GMs that are.
Hang on.
That are
hang on. First of all, if I gave you an interview of every person alive in the NBA world, it's not going to change anything for you anyway. So what I'm trying to show you is
it would change is if you gave me an interview for every single person, and it turned out that there was a majority. Then that basic fact that
then I got to ask you.
I already assumed that you're telling the truth because I accepted that yesterday.
But hold on. But I also got the impression from you that actually I want to establish this because I noticed it seemed to be on both sides. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Do you think the majority of the NBA world likes it, or you don't, or you're not sure?
What you asked me, because there's no way I can know. You asked me, what do I think? Majority being over 50%. I said, yeah. Why? Because the majority of the staff in the NBA affecting decisions are players and former players, and I've noticed a trend in former players disliking advanced statistics.
No. The majority of the NBA world is not former players. That's not true.
I'm saying the total body of current players, the total body of players that are involved in making decisions, and then the whole commentariat. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, but there's more people than that. But if you want to go by the examples you gave, I'd like to know two things. One, as you asked me, how do you know? And two, if you don't know and you're just guessing, if you're going by, this is my reason, what you stated, why do you dismiss their conclusions just because they're former players, they're former coaches, they're older, and all that? No, hang on. No, you do.
I think they are.
You have said
I
more.
think they are correct.
You have
I think they are correct.
no. You have said to me before a lot of. Now, please, I'm not quoting your exact words. Okay, try to go by the atmosphere of the whole thing. You have made it seem like older people have a fear of this. They haven't done enough research and all that. Why would you come to those conclusions?
I said they have a fear of that there is a fear of technology and a fear of things that are. Frankly, coming from non-basketball players.
No. You were making it seem like the players. Do you not remember your own takes here? I remember your takes.
No, I literally said they have a fear of technology.
Okay, but that's not I don't remember you saying technology, but even if you did, it doesn't matter to me because you also made it seem like. Hey, this. Don't quote me, okay? I'm just summarizing.
Okay.
You made it seem like, in my experience, usually the people in the NBA world who don't like analytics are former players, former coaches, scouts, and all that. Yeah. And these are older people who don't know, who haven't done it, who are scared of it, who don't like this new thing and all that.
You're making a leap. You're making a leap. I did absolutely say that. But I don't believe that everything that they say about advanced statistics is wrong.
Why do you keep saying advanced statistics? It's analytics. Why do you keep saying advanced statistics? It's analytics.
I don't want to have this semantic debate again.
It's not a semantics. It's two different things. Very clearly, two different things. But anyway, let's not get back into that. You're right. So let's try this.
What would your definition?
But hold on.
Go ahead.
I want to ask something else. If you are right to say that there's no way for you to know how much of the NBA world likes analytics or not, and I'm agreeing with you. There's no way to know for sure. So why would you not do this? If you want to use the word logic or philosophy or facts or whatever, since you seem to be a guy who appreciates these things, why would you not say, because I don't know how much of the NBA world likes it or not, why would you not ask yourself, what about that? How come there's not a lot of evidence of how much they like it or not? And two, why are you going to act like they're wrong or right?
Okay. One, I don't decisions about wrong or right. What I look to as being meaningful, not caring more about wrong or right, but something that will be speculatively interesting about basketball in the future are things that have content, that have a complex explanation, that are trying to address the complex factors that are in play in basketball. So when I hear NBA players say, I don't, just to quote Josh Smith again, and this is a sentiment I've heard from multiple players, many players, is a person who hasn't played basketball, I don't take anything they say seriously. That isn't a meaningful argument to me. Now, when arguments are made about the homogenization...
No, I missed that. Did you say it's a meaningful argument or it's not?
It's not a meaningful argument.
Why is that not meaningful?
Because I don't... To me, if you want to talk about an absolute belief, that's an absolute belief.
Well,
right?
Well, can I ask you? Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm open-minded. Please let me know. Have you noticed that the majority of people who love analytics are not people who actually played professionally or coached professionally or scouted professionally and so on?
I think more and more people, good coaches, are taking this information as part. They're not using it as the whole. Not
my question. Have you noticed that the majority of the people who like analytics are not former professional people?
Absolutely. Okay. It's coming from statistics. It's coming from
fair enough.
Market evaluation.
So you get it. So then, when he says these people haven't played basketball, what is wrong with his statement?
It's not that there's anything wrong with the statement itself. That's a fact. What I think is a bit inane is the idea that someone who has not played basketball cannot make a meaningful judgment about basketball.
But he's not. But according to your quote, he's not saying that.
But he is saying that. He's saying
no. I see the problem. I see the problem. The reason you take it that way is because in your mind you have come to the conclusion that analytics are reliable. He's not coming to that conclusion.
Well, Yes, obviously.
Okay, so then if he believes analytics are not reliable, and I'm with him on that, but you're not, and that's fine, then if he says, I'm not going to listen to these people because they never played basketball, you should at the very least not care or say, yeah, he's right. Or I get it, or something like that. I don't know, maybe not the very least, but you get the point.
No. How I feel about it is that that level of analysis isn't deep enough to make a speculation about something's use or non-use.
Okay, and why is
saying
that?
It's good or bad.
And why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because what if you actually look at what advanced statistics do? They're not as opaque as you are making them out.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I ask, what's the reason you keep saying advanced statistics and not analytics?
Fine, I'll say analytics.
No, but there must be I think I know the reason, but I'm not sure. What's the reason then?
Advanced statistics are the combination of statistics and analysis. Okay. It's not just analysis.
And what are analytics?
I see them as they're used in the NBA or in general.
Well, whatever you said about
analytics.
When you gave the definition of advanced statistics, were you giving them at the NBA world or outside the NBA world?
Advanced statistics, or you mean when I gave the definition of applied statistics?
No, were you saying it? I thought you were saying advanced statistics. Was it applied statistics?
No, it was applied.
I remember you said applied. I just assumed you meant the same thing. So now you're having a third one, or?
Advanced statistics is a form of applied statistics.
Okay, so just to make sure, advanced statistics are a form of applied statistics, and applied statistics are a form of analytics. Is that right?
No, analytics is a term that is brought in to describe the way that these statistics are, or as you say, non-statistics are being used.
I thought it was more than that, but okay, all right. Okay.
No, but when we talk about analytics are only taking the meaning from a closed proposition.
Analytics are basically predictions. That's what they are.
Yes, but they're Wait. Okay, maybe I went too abstract in the analysis of what analytics are. Yes, analytics are predictive.
Okay, now what are applied statistics?
Applied statistics is a human being using statistics to analyze a large data set and make a prediction.
And when you say statistics, are you including analytics?
Am I including analytics? Like, for instance, and you can tell me if I'm
it's a yes or no.
I would assume I am.
Okay,
but,
yeah, right.
In the case of someone is analyzing a large body of people, limited by
you're not going to the NBA world. You're going to outside the NBA world.
Well, just to create continuity about what applied statistics is.
But remember, but in this case, since we're talking about analytics and so on, there's going to be differences between sports and non-sports. Okay,
so talking about the NBA. Okay, how can I look at passing? Like, you have basic assist numbers, and those assist numbers can represent a pass to someone who you're creating a wide open shot for someone. You're passing to an isolation scorer. In hard defense, you're passing to someone who is holding the ball for a quarter of a second. You're passing to someone who's holding the ball for 3 seconds, right? Like the famous Rondo assist, which is a assist to a high value isolation scorer, right?
Okay, so before you continue, I don't want to get sidetracked. I just want to make sure. This is a quick side question. If we get sidetracked, fine, but I hope we don't. Do everything you just told me about 3 seconds, assists, what would happen, all that, do you believe most of the NBA world really analyzes all this and then applies it?
Most of the NBA world?
Yeah.
No. Okay. They get it. They get only the result.
No, but if they're not
They're trusting someone else to make the judgment.
Right, no, but then my second part of it was, do they actually apply it? So like if you're like a player, when they get the results, do you think they're really sitting there going, okay, I better stand here for 3 seconds and do this assist and make this?
No. That's not what I mean. Mainly what a player is going to get is, this is where you shoot best from. against this defense, do this, be in this position for this pass, and don't do X.
Okay,
and that's an important part.
If that's the case,
don't do this.
If that's the case, you can't see how a player can know all this without being told all this.
What'd you say?
You can't see how a player can know all this without being told all this.
Know all what? I'm not sure.
All the examples you gave about what to do, what not to do.
No, I don't. I don't think that individuals are very good at, and this is obviously a speculative proposition.
Big time.
I don't think that. What'd you say?
Big time.
That individuals are particularly good at reflecting on their positive, negative features. Okay, some are better, some are worse.
No. When you say positive, negative features, I would agree because that's a very vague. These are very vague terms. It could be a million things, but specific.
Okay, well, let's talk about it specifically in terms of basketball.
Yeah, sure, but in terms,
I don't know.
But in terms of basketball, I'd like to know why would you assume that they can't figure these things out, and two, how would you explain that they did figure these things out, including before analytics, when they have analytics, and probably in the future too?
What I think certainly happened, and you've seen a transformation in like the profile players that are drafted, changing the profile of the way that people shoot, and so on. That Joe Smith to me is like a perfect example of someone who, as a style of player that doesn't exist in the NBA anymore, a guy who would take a shot from anywhere.
Which player? Which player?
Huh?
Which player doesn't exist anymore? Which one?
Josh Smith.
What's so? I mean, how do you figure he doesn't exist? I don't understand.
A player of his style, a guy who's taking an enormous amount of mid-range jumpers, who is shooting very badly from three. A player that now what does exist about him, what has continued, and what I think is like the element of him that has been analyzed out and more importantly observed by the majority of people in the NBA are taller guys who can handle the ball, pass.
No, I find it amazing that whenever people tell me everything you just said about who doesn't exist and who does, that you guys are not able to understand. It's only you Michael Jordan fans who think these things. Remember earlier in the conversation I was saying what some Michael Jordan fans think about today's NBA, and you were saying to me, well, I didn't say all these things, and I acknowledge that. You just proved to me right now how you say certain things about today's NBA that only Michael Jordan fans say. So, for example, when you talk about taller people who can handle the ball, taller people have always been able to handle the ball. The other example you gave, what was the other example?
It would be absurd to say that there hasn't been a continuing growth of players that can handle the ball, that are taller, that can handle the ball better now.
It's not absurd because they don't have,
and it has nothing to do with advanced statistics.
No, they don't have as many tall players as they did in the past. They're shorter, and when you are shorter, it's easier to handle the ball because you're keeping the ball low to the floor. In other words, it's harder for 7 foot. Hang on. If you have 7'2" Kareem Abdul-Jabbar handling the ball, and you have let's see, Giannis handling the ball, there is a clear difference in the height.
One, sorry, I'm forgetting his name. He works Kenny the Jet. As he said,
another Michael Jordan fan, by the way.
What'd you say?
Another Michael Jordan fan, by the way.
This has nothing to do with Michael Jordan.
I'm just saying. I bring this up because I assume you're about to tell me something that he says that shows why you're right, and I'm telling you he's a Michael Jordan fan.
Like what seems so strange to me is that what you have identified as a Michael Jordan fan is this like permeating total ideological mindset that makes it so that you cannot make a proposition that doesn't relate somehow.
That's right. No, you got it. You got that's one definition you can label right there. Yes, you are right.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's extreme.
And by the way, I can't prove this to you. I don't know you personally enough to prove this to you. But as human beings go, I am sure in your lifetime that either you or people you like, whether they're in your family, your friends, or your coworkers or whoever, have done this routine where you label a group of people a certain way.
Label a group of people a a certain way. Wait, that's way too vague for me. That's like,
But you know what I mean. Let me be more specific. Let me be more specific.
I think everyone does.
I'll be more okay. Well, then, if you think everyone does, why is it okay for you to label people a certain way, but I can't?
It's not about can you or can't you. It's how meaningful is that label?
Right, but if you question how meaningful it is, you're essentially saying, why are you doing it this way? So you're saying I shouldn't.
No, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I believe, as I agreed before, I believe that the general idea that you described about Michael Jordan fans, and if we go back, I can't remember my exact words,
sure,
but to some degree, I agree that there is this cult of personality around Michael Jordan.
But you're part of that. But you're part of that. You're part of that cult.
Let me first say Kenny the Jet Smith's quote, and then I will go back to this.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough. Go ahead.
So Kenny the Jet Smith's quote was, when talking about Kyrie, they asked, is Kyrie the best dribbler of all time? And he made the statement, and I don't believe that he's completely correct in saying this. I think he's actually wrong. But what he said was, what was true about it, what he said was that when, back in the day, what Kyrie was doing is what we did on playgrounds. We were not allowed to dribble on the court the same way that they do now, right? So I think there's a certain amount of truth in that. Coaches, just like Pistol Pete, like they attempted to prevent him from using all the moves that he had developed throughout his career because it just wasn't accepted as good basketball. And now the concept has changed, so that has an effect. But I also think that there's also training regimens and so on. But what's more important?
So far, I haven't gotten anything about why I'm wrong in anything. Just so you know.
No, but what's important to me is what King the Jet Smith said have to do with Michael Jordan?
Oh, I'll tell you. Oh, that's a very easy question. I thought you were going to be a little bit more tougher than that. They're all part of the journey. You understand the journey. There is a journey of a mindset that comes from a certain time frame, from a certain decades, where people learn from each other, from the same people, and they're part of a cult. And they're part of a following. And then, like any group of people who do this, you say it enough times and it becomes truthful. It becomes logical, meaningful, reasonable. And then the younger people who learn from them start doing the same thing and say, why are these teachers wrong? They're right.
That's very general.
Yes.
What does the specific thing I said have to do with Michael Jordan?
Oh, because Kenny Smith picks Michael Jordan as the #1 NBA player of all time.
See, that's correlation. That's not causation.
I'll tell you the causation. In order to pick Michael Jordan as a #1 NBA player of all time, you have to have some reasons. You don't just say he's the greatest because he sold the most Nike shoes, although some Michael Jordan fans do say that. But anyway, that's a side note. When they pick Michael Jordan as a #1 NBA player of all time, what are their reasons? Now, I don't know all his reasons, but in the millions of interviews I've seen of Kenny Smith, some of which are on my first page, he will use rationale like rings and finals MVPs, and he'll talk about the past era versus today's era, and so on. So what I'm saying to you is, when he has questionable takes that are not factual and that are ridiculous and that are not consistent with his own criteria, it shows two conclusions. One, he's one of them, and two, he's not reliable.
But what his conclusion was that ultimately in the NBA, before now, people could not do as advanced dribbling techniques.
That's what he says. Who is he? A Michael Jordan fan.
Okay, just pure video analysis.
All right.
You would say when we had 6 people standing in the post, right?
Okay.
Completely inferior technologies, as you pointed out.
Well, what years are you talking about?
We could pick the 60s or the 70s or even the 80s. Looking at Magic Johnson, a top tier ball handler in the 80s, would you say that he has the same range of skills that Kyrie Irving?
Well, first of all, that is a very unfair question. Magic Johnson is a 6'9", 200+ pound guy.
Go pick a 6'2" point guard that you think has the best handle of.
I don't come to any conclusion about who has the best handles of all time.
Pick one. I'm not saying of all time. Say
or any decade or era, so-called era, whatever. Say it again.
Say your favorite handler.
I don't have a favorite. I don't have a favorite.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, by dodging all of these things, by not even giving giving a speculation, there's no means of comparison.
I think earlier you used a word with me. I think, I could be wrong, maybe it was another video, or maybe I'm wrong, you didn't use this word, but you implied or said it was absurd. Now I'm going to use the same word or imply the same word with you. You're being absurd, because when I tell you I don't pick one guy as the best or pick a favorite, and you label me as dodging and acting like I'm not being fair, you're being absurd and ridiculous.
No, what I'm saying is your claims about this being that handling is continuous throughout the history of the NBA, and
I never said that. I never said any of these things. These are your beliefs.
Why did you deny what I said earlier?
Well, first of all, before we get to that, can you acknowledge that there's nothing wrong with me not picking the best and picking a favorite?
No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Well, then why would you accuse me of dodging?
Because of the particular framing of the question, which was that you were, and I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying that the quality and skill of ball handling, on average, in the NBA in the past, has been continuous with the
even if you thought that, there was still no reason to question me for not picking a number one guy, a number one dribbler, and a favorite dribbler, and then label me as dodging then.
No, the reason was because I believed that you were using the word best or favorite instead of, I could have just said pick anyone that you think is really good.
And by the way,
right?
That's another reason I know you're a Michael Jordan fan, because you guys do this strange thing. I've documented this many times. I don't expect you to get this or agree. You guys do this strange thing where not only do you expect people to pick someone and pick a favorite and rank and all that, but if they don't, you question them for being ridiculous or trolling or not being experts on the NBA, not knowing the NBA and so on.
No, you are talking about ranking. When I was not thinking about ranking,
you asked me who was
somebody.
No,
that
you did ask me about ranking.
High quality.
No, you asked me about.
Quality.
You asked me about the best ball handler, dribbler in whatever period time, all time, decade, so-called era, whatever, and then you asked me who was my favorite.
Yes, and now I'm asking someone who you think is really good.
But can you acknowledge? Well, you don't have to acknowledge, but do you get my point that lots of Michael Jordan fans expect these things and then they act questionable if you don't pick a player or some players?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, so I respect that. I respect that you seem to get it. How do you explain that you did what they did?
I can accept, like, if you're talking directly to me and asking me how I feel about your larger category of the Michael Jordan fan, like, if it ranges from someone thinking that it is possible to make judgments about who is better or worse at something, right? To believing that Michael Jordan is the greatest for all time and him alone, and that is all continuous, and that by saying one, you are then put in the same category as the other. That to me is just a silly proposition.
So I'm saying
so general.
It depends.
Not be useful.
No, I got you. It depends. Some of them are just put in the category as, okay, that's one of them. So, but it doesn't end there. Some of them are also put in the category of doing all the other things or doing lots of the other things that the Michael Jordan fans do. So, for example, if you said to me, pick the number one NBA player of all time, or pick your favorite, or pick someone you grew up with, pick someone who you think is the most dominant or whatever, and I didn't, and you were like, oh, that's ridiculous. Okay, I would find that questionable and say, you're a typical Michael Jordan fan. But no, hang on. I'm just giving a hypothetical. I would say, okay, he's a typical Michael Jordan fan in that sense. But if you then start doing the other things too, I would go, he's definitely more of a typical Michael Jordan fan.
So it's a continuum. It's a continuum.
So basically, there's
degrees of intensity.
As I told you in the other phone calls, not all Michael Jordan fans are the same. Of course not. There's different levels. But on all the calls we've had so far, I acknowledge that that maybe they're zombies, they're a cult, they're questionable, and all that. Okay, but all that does not erase all the other things that you have said or believed or how you reacted and all that. Because you're doing a lot of things that they do.
Sorry, you broke up and I could not hear the last thing you said. You believe what?
you're saying, believing, reacting, and so on in many of the same ways that they do.
What I've gotten is that I believe that there's speculative value in advanced statistics, which you identify as a feature of Michael Jordan fans,
Right.
and that I think that you can meaningfully talk about higher or lower value of players, and that I do think that there's been transformation between eras. That ball handling in the current iteration of the NBA is of extremely high quality. Of course, there were great ball handlers in the past, but was Isaiah Thomas of the standard of Kyrie Irving or of Steph Curry or Damian Lillard, and I could go on with other players? Mm-hmm. No. I think that, and I don't think that's through advanced statistics or anything like that. It's purely through the modern form of like extreme personal training and amount of time that they get with private experts on specific skills.
And I believe that you believe all that.
And in addition to that, also the freedom that coaches give to players that they probably didn't give in the past.
These are all your beliefs.
Of course, they are my beliefs, but I think they are beliefs based on evidence. They can't be
you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm all down for evidence. All these things you listed, everything. It'd be nice if you showed some evidence.
Well, okay. So, are you saying that there was the same tradition of private trainers working on specifically on ball handling skills for hundreds of thousands of dollars with specific players in the 80s?
You didn't say all that.
Well, that's what I was talking about, and I stated that I was talking about
that. You gave a simplified, vague, general umbrella thing about what you believe. So based on what you said, I said those are your beliefs, which you acknowledged, but you said they're based partly in evidence or something like that. I don't have the exact words, so I asked you for evidence, and you asked me a question.
And if you answer no to that question, I would say that you are ignoring the fact that many players in the league, a majority, now work with private trainers that work to develop specific skills.
Okay, so
that did not exist in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, then if you're talking about specifically working with a trainer, a paid professional trainer, of course, that trainer was not always around. That type of person was not always around. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what does that prove anything about analytics or anything? Or
I'm not. We weren't even talking about analytics.
Well, no.
The transformation of ball handling.
Right now, we're not talking about analytics, but this is connecting, stemming step by step to the dribbling of players versus how much help they had versus eras and all that, which all goes back to the topic of analytics.
No, my conclusion about I feel like we've gotten to the end of what we could even talk about with analytics.
Okay, all right.
Like if you find it, if you have made the judgment that because of the extensive list of players and coaches and whomever else forms that body that dislike analytics, that it therefore doesn't have a speculative value, a positive speculative value.
Well, why don't you just instead of telling me what you believe, why don't you just prove to me that analytics are reliable?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's say there was an alien.
How can I prove to you that scouting is reliable? Well, you can answer me that, I'll try.
No, easily. If a scout went to the minor leagues and said, here's a ball player, Ted Williams, he's doing pretty well, you might want to check the 17-year-old out, and they check him out and he does well, they sign him, scouting was reliable.
But I talked about like the Indiana Pacers recent drafting, the OKC's recent drafting, the Spurs history of drafting, all which use. Would
you like me to show you drafts?
And you said that you don't believe.
Wait, hold on. Would you like to? Well, no. What I said to you at the time was, when a Michael Jordan fan tells me something that I don't know, I'm not just going to accept it and believe it. It's not that I don't straight up believe you. I'm just going to do research first. But to your draft topic, Are you just to make sure? Are you saying, well, hey, look, analytics came in handy for the drafts? Or is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that these teams have employed analytics to successfully draft beyond just their elite players.
And I'm sure those employees made lots of good money.
Yeah. See that this is why I think like that basic paranoia at the bottom.
It's not.
That there's like
It's not. It's
some
not
game.
paranoia. No, it's
No,
not
let me
paranoia.
finish my statement.
Humans want to make money, so they're going to act like they got something that's reliable.
Yeah, like I find that to be a pretty
Well, then
paranoid thing. That like these are all grift
no,
trying to like steal money from the NBA.
If you find, well,
there's no proof.
Hold on. Anybody who works for the NBA or any major company, and it's not a bad thing, they're trying to make money. They're not stealing from it. It's not a paranoia thing. Their main goal is to make money. So they're not going to say, hey, don't hire me because I'm different. They're going to say, hire me because I'm different. Now, if you're saying...
Do you think all analytics teams are going to the NBA pitching themselves?
I'll get to that. But if you're saying to me, look, it's paranoia, just because they're doing it doesn't mean it's just for the money. Maybe they actually believe it's reliable or it is reliable. Here's what I'll say. Some of them probably believe it's reliable. Fine. But that doesn't matter. There is no proof that's reliable. What you're doing is telling me it's paranoia, but you could be doing something better. Just show me the proof. That's it.
Like what? Analyzing draft picks? Like
no.
Jalen Williams, for instance, who was drafted higher than
this whole thing has been. You can do that if you want, but I mean about analytics. Show me that analytics are factually reliable.
See, here's the difficulty.
You're not going to do it. You're always going to tell me everything else, but not that.
What teams do with their analytics is a black box. They're not giving out a report on exactly how they apply their analytics. They're only saying that they do, right? So you asking me to identify exactly where they apply analytics
but hang on a second. Hang on a second.
I would say
hang on. But even though they do what you say, and let's go by what you claim. You say that's what they do. You take it a step further. You say that what they're doing is reliable and what they're going by is reliable. And I am asking for you the proof. And what you're doing then is you're telling me pretty much lots of other things, but you're not giving me the proof.
What I'm giving is evidence, not proof.
Where's the evidence?
Evidence.
Where is it?
If you go, okay. This is what I'm saying is evidence. You can say it's not evidence, or you can say it is evidence.
Well, I would never say it's not evidence if it's evidence.
A team, what'd you say?
I would never say it's not evidence if it's evidence.
See, like, obviously you don't have that means, but
what do you mean?
If a team...
No, what do you mean?
States explicitly. What'd you say?
What do you mean? You said obviously I don't have something. What do you mean? What was that?
You don't have that means. You don't have the means to judge absolutely what is evidence.
How can you say that? That's your belief again. This is your belief. You always tell me your beliefs.
Oh, that's not a belief. That's a fact about humans.
Well, you know what? Well, then I'd love. Here's a question you're gonna love. You want to show me the fact that proves it?
The fact that proves that that you cannot know every single example of evidence and know if it's evidence or not.
That is not. You're very slick with what you do this once in a while where you'll say one thing and then when I ask you something, you'll change it up. That's not what you said. We were talking about...
That is what I said.
No.
You were saying that you could appreciate if it was evidence or not purely through your own judgment. And I was saying that's not. You do not have the means.
Let me explain here. Your answer about what you said was a follow-up to what we were talking about, which was about analytics being reliable and how do you know it's reliable, where's the proof and all that. You weren't talking about evidence as a general rule.
Within the framework of basketball, you do not have the means.
What do you
don't know.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean? Because remember what I'm asking you. Remember what I'm asking you.
Because you assume that it's a scam.
Just to clarify again, remember, we're talking about analytics, are they reliable, where's the proof and all that. So when you were saying to me that when you were saying to me, hang on.
Sorry.
You're fine. When you were saying to me, I don't have the means to know which all the evidence is all reliable, that is a different topic. You were not talking about that. You were talking about the other things.
Well, I will say that
we were talking about
in the framework of basketball.
We're not talking about that.
Like what you are doing is you make an assumption about analytics.
Wrong. You are.
I don't.
No, you are.
What?
I'm not making any assumption. You are.
You are also making an assumption about analytics.
No. Think like this. Think like this.
I could create a very good analogy.
No. I'll keep it simple. Forget analogies. I am told something is factually reliable. I have not seen the proof it's reliable. I don't accept it. You believe there's proof, there's facts, you accept it then. So you're making the assumption, not me.
I would say that, again, there have been advanced statistics applied to LeBron James' amount of movement across the court.
No, you're doing it again. You're talking about advanced statistics. We can get into advanced statistics if you want, but what happened to analytics?
There are analytics. Wait.
See,
conversation was about advanced statistics.
It was about analytics. This whole thing has been about mostly analytics. Can I tell you the mistake you're making?
No, because because you didn't listen to what I said earlier, which is that the way that it is used by people outside of the NBA and within the NBA are different.
I agree. I don't know why you're telling me this. I agree with you. I told you that too.
And so I'm explaining how it is positively used in the NBA.
But you said I didn't. You said something like I didn't hear what you said, or I didn't get what you said. But you're wrong. You did say those things. I agreed, and I also told you those things.
Okay, well then I misunderstood.
Okay, fine. So let's try this again. I don't mind getting into advanced analytics, or advanced statistics, or applied statistics, or analytics, but we have been centering this on analytics. So why do you keep going to advanced analytics? Or statistics, whichever one. Whichever one. I don't know.
Because I think the way that you're differentiating them is too vague for me to differentiate.
When you say the way I'm doing it, you understand I'm not making up a definition. There are different categories, which you agreed they're different categories. The mistake you're making is
no. The only categories that I used were applied and advanced. And then you asked me an element of advanced statistics was analytics.
You have four things. One is analytics, one is statistics, one is applied statistics, and one is advanced statistics. Applied analytics, or advanced analytics, whichever one. I forget which one.
Four different things. What I said was that advanced analytics is a form of applied statistics, or advanced statistics are a form of applied statistics in the NBA, and that part of every advanced statistics is analysis.
And what I keep saying to you is, why are you going to those ones when we're going over analytics, and you make it seem like it's tomato semantics or something?
Because if you're not listing what the analytic is that I'm talking about, because I haven't been talking about analytics, I've been talking about advanced statistics.
How can you say you haven't been talking about analytics? How can you say that? We've been talking about analytics for more than one call.
No, you keep saying, why are you saying advanced statistics and analytics? This is why. Right. Because I'm talking about advanced statistics.
Right, but and I keep saying why. We're talking about analytics.
You're talking about analytics.
Okay. Well, I guess I've been talking to myself all this time. I mean, we clearly for more than one call we're talking about specifically analytics, and then when you go to advanced, I ask, why are you going to advanced? Why aren't you going to analytics? And I'm trying to figure out, are you saying they're the same or they're different?
I'm feeling quite lost in the conversation.
Okay, let me ask. Can I ask you? Do you think analytics? I think I asked you earlier, but I'm not sure. And if I did, I don't remember if you answered. Or I don't remember if you answered. I don't remember what your answer was. But let me ask you: do you think analytics and advanced? What is it? Is it advanced analytics or advanced statistics? Which one is it?
Advanced statistics.
Okay. Do you think analytics and advanced statistics are the same?
No, I think analytics are a part of advanced statistics.
Okay, fair enough. So let's go step by step.
As I've said many times.
And as I've followed up many times, why are you going to that when we are talking about analytics?
Okay, because there's no way to disentangle the analytic part and the advanced statistical part in their application.
Just to make sure, are you saying you can't separate them?
You can separate them conceptually. You cannot separate them practically in their application.
Okay. I don't even know if that's true, but let's say you're right. This is a new one. No one's ever told me this before. So I could figure it out right now, but I just want to go one at a time here. Whether you can separate them in terms of how they apply and all that doesn't mean anything to me right now, because I'm still trying to figure out two things. One, how come every time I talk about analytics and you talk about advanced statistics, was it advanced statistics or advanced analytics? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting.
Advanced statistics.
Okay, advanced statistics. Yeah. So I have two questions. One, why do you sometimes make it seem like they're the same? And two, how come every time we're on analytics, you keep going to advanced statistics? Now I imagine
I haven't used the word analytics. you've asked me why I use the word advanced statistics, but I haven't used the word
I don't
analytics, so I
even know if
don't
that's
know why.
I don't even know if that's true.
that
You
is-
never use the word, but if you didn't, you do realize we've been talking about it for more than one call, right?
Well, we have a basic disagreement about how advanced statistics function, and inevitably, I don't think
no. But most
I'm
of
not sure if it's possible
I
to
think I
even
know the
get
I
on.
think I know the problem here. The problem is you are. I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I know what you're going to say. You're going to say you're not, but there's really no other solution answer. You are doing this routine where you're acting like analytics and advanced statistics are the same. They're not the same.
I'm not saying they're the same,
If they're not the same, and
I'm not saying they're the same.
and if they're not the same, and you're not saying they're the same, if you're not saying they're the same, clearly on more than one call, we have been talking about analytics, and you keep making it seem like you're not talking about analytics, and you never use the word analytics, and you're going to advanced statistics and all that.
Well, advanced statistics is what is applied to the NBA. That's what we've been talking
They also
about.
apply analytics, which we've been
Analytics are a part of advanced statistics.
We're just going in a circle. No,
Exactly.
we're
That's
just going
why
in a circle.
I
I'm
think
just trying.
that
No,
this must come to an end.
no. Are analytics and advanced statistics the same or not?
No, one is a part of the
Okay,
other.
okay. So, would you agree at some part of our phone calls, at some part, okay, we were talking about analytics, right?
We started talking about what I think is more pertinent interest to the Michael Jordan conversation.
But the answer was
how,
so. The answer no. Are you disagreeing? We were not talking about analytics.
I think we got completely away from analytics. I think you brought it back up in relation to advanced statistics. I've been steadfast about advanced statistics.
I would love to see how you're going to react when you play back the tapes because we have clearly been talking about analytics a long time, more than one call.
You have used the word many times, yes.
No, it's more than that. You have responded to the word, told me why I'm wrong. We were going over what people believe
You've
and
asked
all
me
that.
questions about analytics as well, and I've answered those, but I've been using advanced statistics when talking about what is applicable to the NBA.
First of all, now you're making it seem like that the only time you talked about analytics was when I brought it up. You also went over it yourself.
I have been describing what advanced statistics is, and in that, I talked about analytics.
All right,
yes.
But I agree that you have tried to go to advanced statistics, or maybe you went actually more into it. I'm not disputing those things. But why are you making it seem like you never really went into analytics unless I brought it up? And by the way, just real quickly, even if that were true, that you never really went into analytics until I brought it up, even if that were true, you're still, when you follow up, you're still going over analytics.
As I said, about the differentiation between the way people outside the NBA and people inside the NBA use advanced statistics and use analytics, and then also advanced statistics.
Are you saying to me
are different?
Are you saying to me you have
and
never?
as we've been talking about the NBA,
Are you saying to me you have never solely gone over analytics by itself?
It's definitely possible. I don't remember a point, but I'm not going to doubt you.
So we're getting somewhere. Okay, fine. So we have gone over analytics. Now we haven't solved them. So when you do, by the way, you have gone over analytics way more than you're making it seem like, and it wasn't just when I brought up analytics, but we both went over analytics, and we were both, following up on analytics. But when you did go to advanced statistics, and I say, hey, why are you going to advanced statistics? What about analytics? What is your disagreement then?
What is all I have been saying is that analytics are part of all advanced statistics.
That's
right?
all you've been saying?
It's where the application comes.
You've said more than that.
Advanced statistics are something that what?
No, that's not all you've been saying. You've been saying more than that.
On this subject.
I know. I'm with you. Either one, whether it's on the subject or not, that's not all you've said.
When I'm getting to examples, I was trying to bring up LeBron, trying to bring up the draft processes. It seems like we're getting caught in a circle, and I just don't.
How about this? How about this? Let's keep it simple. I've asked this question more than once. I'll try again. Anything that you disagree on. Well, I didn't maybe ask this exact question, but let's just try this. When it comes to anything that you disagree on, okay? I've asked this in some ways, I've implied it, I've brought it up and all that. Can you show me any proof that you're right on anything that you disagree on with analytics?
Wait, Okay. Can you ask me a more specific question?
Okay. We have some.
I don't know what.
Yeah, we have some.
What are you stating as the disagreement?
We have some disagreements on analytics, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. On any of our disagreements, do you have any proof that you're right and I'm wrong?
Well, I think the way that analytics work is that they are retroactive, and therefore you can do a comparison of outcomes with the results of the analytics. And I think a fair amount of analytics coincide not just with Michael Jordan, but with many players, to give you reasonable understanding of value and give you insight into how that value is produced.
I don't mind addressing all that, but because I think we both feel like we're going in a circle, I want to keep it very simple, just for now. But we can get into it if you want. Is it your answer no, you don't have proof?
I don't know what you would consider proof.
Oh, come on. It's not what I consider. This is not like a flat earther where you show them that they're like, well, what's your facts and my facts? No, you're going by facts, truth, logic, reason, common sense, data. Is there any proof?
Well, common sense has nothing to do with facts, but
no, there is some. No, there is some, and I can get into that, but I feel like we're gonna get side. I'll get into it. I'll show you one. Right now, there is no proof, 100% for sure, that the sun is going to come up tomorrow. But if you calculate the place of the Earth and the place of the sun and the speed of gravity and all that, you can come to common sense conclusion that the sun will come up tomorrow.
Well, now you're talking about Hume and inference, right? That's Hume's famous example of like the limits of empiricism, that we have to, at that point, go by a belief.
I'm not really getting into philosophical mumbo jumbo. I'm just saying what you said about common sense.
It's not mumbo jumbo. It's how that very example was first framed in text. But despite that,
but what does that mean?
My example is this.
Well, what does that mean to me? So you were saying there's no common sense to this.
What it means is what you used as the means of getting to the predictive mode was a formula, right? Where you plug in information.
Right.
It is a pretty determinate formula. It's not an exact formula,
sure,
but it is extremely, extremely close.
Right.
The way that analytics are used is not nearly as close as that, but it's not so far away.
Oh, it's very far. No, it's very far away. It just depends.
I think advanced analytics show that the best players of all time,
just real quick,
no order.
Hang on, just real quick. I would agree with you if you're saying some. In your case, you want to say advanced statistics over and over. Some advanced statistics may not be that far away. But you're, again, just like with analytics, you're cherry picking which advanced statistics you want to go by and which ones you don't, because some are very far away.
No, what I would argue is a body, which is the set of advanced or relative on-off metrics, which are very limited in their scope and their application. Which by saying, what is the average value of a player during a season, and how does this player relate to that average value?
Right, exactly.
And can we quantify that?
And that one is not a big deal to me. But when you start using these things to either rank or come to conclusions, those are problems right there.
Well, to me, when the range of them come to the conclusions that guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Will Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, so forth and so on, are very good. But also guys like Manu Ginobili or Seth Curry or useful players that have clearly played roles in teams that have been able to win.
Oh, you wouldn't put Steph Curry with that first group?
What'd you say?
You wouldn't put Steph Curry with that first group?
Steph.
Oh, Steph. Oh, okay.
Steph values are out of this world with that first group.
Okay.
But then there is a second group of more hidden value that one can easily correlate with successful teams.
Okay.
And that is a useful bit of knowledge to understand the kind of interstitial space between what the main clear box score statistics tell us and what people do that is outside of that.
So give me an example. Oh, you're about to do it. I think you're about to do an example of how these are more reliable than box score statistics, right?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. Let's find out. Maybe you got something.
like
By the way,
what
just to make sure,
passing
are you talking
percentage
about
does.
analytics or advanced statistics?
Well, passing percentage would be called an advanced statistic, but I think according to your definition, it would be more of an analytic.
I'm open-minded. Just to confirm, what is passing percentage and how do they come up with it?
Okay, so I'd rather just. I think I have the page up, and I can just read it to you
By the
rather
way,
than
can I ask you?
approximate.
Can I ask you? This might not be a big deal, but don't you find it a little bit questionable that you have to go research it because you know it's so complicated and it's not a simple thing?
No, okay. If you just want me to give you passing percentage off the top of my head, I can do that.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so what passing percentage does is it takes the amount of possessions over a game, normalizes those. It tracks
What is that?
where
What is that? What is
passes.
that? What does that mean? Normalizes them? What does that mean?
It creates a continuous amount of possessions, an average of 75 possessions.
Okay, so that's an
Right?
analytic. Yeah, no doubt, that's an analytic.
What'd you say?
So they're predicting, right?
No, that's not. It's not predictive.
Oh,
It's
maybe.
just a normalization tool so that you don't have 150
So maybe I'm not.
or
Just to make sure. So
90.
just to make sure, what does it mean again when they normalize it? What does that mean?
It means that really what it means is that they are going based on per possession base.
And just to make sure, what does that mean? Hello? Hey, please subscribe. And if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.